Okay, hello. So what I've got here is just some toys out. Been playing with my drivetrain, experimenting with ultrasonic cleaner and using wax for lube, and so far I've been pretty happy with it. In fact, I've been so happy with it that I'm going to go ahead and do my backup bike. I'm going to drop the chain and the cassette in this ultrasonic cleaner that I have a little simple green and hot water in. I'm going to clean it and dry it, and while the chain is drying out, this wax substance in here, which is actually just paraffin wax with a little PTFE in it. It's a commercial product called Molten Speed Wax. So this is just a cheap, I don't know, like $10 crock pot. You just dump all the wax in there, melt it, and then you just reheat it whenever you need to redo your chains. This was the first chain that I did, and I got, I didn't get as many miles out of it as I wanted. I ended up getting about 150 miles out of it because what I found was the rain pretty much washes the wax off just like it does any other lube. So like my second ride on the chain, I got caught in a long rainstorm and got completely drenched, and then when the chain dried out, it was squeaky, and that was it. So I had a little better luck with the second chain that I did, which I'm actually going to pop off the bike here in a minute. So this chain I got a solid 200 miles out of with the paraffin wax. You can see how it looks after 200 miles of riding. Not so bad. I did start making a little noise, so I'm just going to go ahead and do both of my chains for this bike. I'm using this these KMC chains. Let me rotate this around so you can see this if I can find it. There it is. Okay. So there's this thingy here called a master link, and all you do is there's just a pair of pliers. You put the tips in here, you give it a squeeze, chain pops right off. Easy peasy. And then putting it on is the same way. After you've done it a couple times, it literally takes 10 seconds to take the chain off, and it takes like a minute to put it back on. You just thread it through and then get the chain closer tool and give it a squeeze, and it chains right back on. So this is what the cassette looks like after 350 miles of using paraffin wax. So there's a tiny, you can see there's like a tiny little bit of dirt, but I would say for 350 miles, that's not too bad compared to regular lube. I think you know, the difference would be like night and day. So there's a small amount of buildup, but you can see it's not the same as like an oil-based lube. It doesn't collect any dirt. It doesn't really stick to stuff, so it looks pretty good. So this is so I think I won't have to clean this cassette too much. You'll see I did get a little rust there. So we're gonna pop this chain off later, but what I want to do is I want to give you a graphic demonstration of this, how cool this ultrasonic cleaner is. So I was cheap mainly because this was an experiment. I didn't know how it was going to work out. I didn't want to spend a bunch of money. Plus, well, I live in a condo. I don't have a garage. You know, everything has to be small. You have to be able to store it, and so you have to think about it when you buy things. Where am I going to put this thing? Where's it going to fit? Where am I going to store it? And so, even though this thing doesn't have all the things you might want in an ultrasonic cleaner, like the better models have larger capacity, and they'll heat the water, and they run longer, and everything else. But this guy is tiny. It's like super easy to store. So I got the tiny crock pot. I can put all this away, and it's invisible, and it hardly takes up any room. And it takes up a lot less room than all the brushes and other little bits and tools and stuff that you normally need to scrub up a drivetrain and clean it. And that's like the whole idea is I want to, you know, go from scrubbing the drivetrain and decreasing the drivetrain to just popping the bits off, throwing them in the ultrasonic cleaner, drying them, waxing the chains in a batch, you know, do like several chains at a time. So I only have to go through this process about once a month. And the idea being the overall time spent on maintenance and stuff just is about the same, but you're batching it up and you don't have all this crap you gotta be scrubbing all the time, and it just ends up being a lot cleaner and more efficient. So that's the idea. And what I found so far is, as long as you don't get caught in a rainstorm or something like that, you absolutely will get 200 miles out of a chain. So you just, you get like 4 chains, and you just change your chain out once a week, and then at the end of the month you get your stuff out on the counter, heat it up, and go through the process. So I'm going to explain the process, and then I'm just going to demonstrate the cleaner. So basically the stuff goes in the ultrasonic cleaner, it gets cleaned, then it gets rinsed off, and then once it's rinsed off, you hang it up, and you have to make sure it's completely dry. And by the time it's completely dry, this wax will probably be melted. And then the chain goes in the wax, and it sits in there until the bubbles stop coming up, because the bubbles is air pockets, air being, the wax displacing the air inside the little rollers and stuff inside the chain. Like if you look on like this, you can see that's really the bit that counts, is where these rollers are. And so when you stop getting bubbles, it's done. And it's pretty straightforward. You take the chain out and you wipe the excess wax off with a rag, and then you hang it up for a few minutes, and then the chain is ready to go. So it's really pretty much as simple as that. So let's go ahead and drop this chain into the cleaner. So what I did here is I put some simple green and hot water in there. I think I mentioned that already. So we're gonna drop this guy in here. And then what I'm going to do is, I want to see if you can see this happening. So I got the timer set, and now I'm going to take a look inside the tank, and I'm going to press the button. And this time I'll press the right button. There's no scrubbing. So this takes, this is like a cheap one. I mean, this is a small cheap cleaner, but I found from using this before that this chain will probably take me, I don't know, somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes. But I'll probably just do it extra just because. Just keep pressing the button until you're entirely sure. And then when I take this chain out, I think I paid like $40 for this thing, and this is a cheap one that's meant for cleaning jewelry. So that's really the long and the short of it. What I'll do after this is I'll make a short video showing the wax going in the chain, but it's really not as interesting as this part, because this is like the labor-saving, not getting dirty part. It is really cool. And what the wax does is it makes it so that stuff doesn't get this dirty, like, to begin with. It just gets a little bit dirty. So that's the whole deal with the ultrasonic cleaner and using paraffin wax and